Welcome once again to Wesley Impact. For Wesley Mission, 2012 was a big year of celebration. It's been 200 years since our pioneers touched on Australian soil and began to do a work that has grown into what we are today. As we highlight the year that was, we also celebrate another charity that began from humble beginnings. At just 8 years of age, Moira Kelly saw a film about Mother Teresa, which kindled a passion within. After years of serving in humanitarian aid circles around the world, the Children First Foundation was born. I hope you really enjoy Moira Kelly's story. It's a delight to have you here, Moira.
Thank you, lovely to be here, thank you.
I look at this list of places, the Bosnia, Botswana, the Bronx. You've set up clinics in many places, soup kitchens, managed AIDS hospitals, and worked with Mother Teresa. How did all this begin?
I'm not too sure where it all began, but I think as a young girl, I was an altar girl in Melbourne, and I saw a film on this wonderful woman doing all this wonderful work. And I said, I'd love to go work with that woman one day. And I remember there was a child of colour, and he was very burnt. And you can't help as human beings but feel merciful towards that. But I suppose I was more taken by the kindness and the acts of mercy shown by the people around him. So I wanted to have a little bit of what they had. I said, what is it they've got that we lack? And I just wanted to be like those people. And of course, those people were sisters and brothers of Mother Teresa. And so I think that was my first impact of thinking, wow, what a lovely life to have. And most importantly, just to be able to care for children like that. And they must have, they all look so happy. So I thought it was a great profession to be in. And
seeing the Christian faith really in action.
In action, in more ways than one, yeah.
So how did Children First Foundation begin then?
Well, I lived overseas for 12 years, and when I was in Albania, I then had set up an organisation called Children First Foundation Albania. And when I was bringing children for surgeries from Bosnia, I brought children to Ireland and America first, and I thought I'd try my own people. And I brought my first 2 children from Bosnia to Australia to see if my own people would embrace this work, and so they did. And we sort of galvanised all the hospitals in Melbourne. And I think the magic part, the first 2 boys had lost a leg in the war and a father. And they were accepted by the Salvation Army, the hospital there in Melbourne. Their doctor was a Jewish doctor. The boys were Muslim and brought out by a Mick. So everything that they ever thought in the Bosnian War didn't exist. Yeah. So really Melbourne embraced this, and if you were to ask a parent of a sick child who can't be operated in their own country, could their child go somewhere, they'll go to the end of the earth. So certainly that's where the journey began for me. And
I know about the farm at Kilmore. That's the main headquarters really, is it?
Well, we have a headquarters in Melbourne where we have administration staff and sort of the finance side of the foundation. And we also have some children who have operated in Melbourne. They stay there overnight. But we have a farm in rural Victoria, actually where the fire started, up that area in East Kilmore, where all the children stay when they're having rehab, and where my home was for the last 10 years prior to the girls arriving. So that was really where we're all based. So it's a very safe haven. It's a lovely community up there in Kilmore, and it's on lovely pasture, and green is the colour of health. So there's no better place for the kids, especially some of our kids can be quite disfigured. There's no one to stare or tease them.
That's an unbiased Irish view of the world. Green is the colour.
You see, like a name like Moira Kelly.
Look, we've really been blessed to hear something of that story, and also the wonderful way in which your family has widened and broadened, and you've certainly been blessed in your family too. So thanks ever so much. Let's hold things there. We're going to come back to that in just a few moments. We're just first of all going to hear the Melbourne Gospel Choir, and they're going to sing "Oh Happy Day."
Lovely.
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus was. 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 He washed my sins away.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
He taught me how.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
When Jesus was.
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 When Jesus
Oh,
was.
He washed my sins away.
Oh, happy day.
It was a happy day.
Oh, happy day. He taught me how
He taught me how
to
to
fight and pray.
oh, to fight
and pray.
and He taught me how to live
And live rejoice.
to live rejoicing,
Every day.
Oh,
Every day.
oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day, yeah.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, it was a happy day, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
happy
yeah.
day.
Oh, happy day, happy
Oh,
day,
happy
happy day.
day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
It was a happy day.
Oh, happy
I said,
day.
happy day.
Oh, happy day.
It was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy
Oh, yeah.
day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, happy
yeah.
day.
When Jesus was.
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 When Jesus
Oh,
was.
He washed my sins away.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, it was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, it was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
It was a happy day.
Oh, happy day.
To commemorate 200 years of faith and pioneering care in Australia, Wesley Mission has released a publication documenting its work in the community.
Everyone needs a little rest. Everyone needs a little joy.
For more information on today's people, today's story, you can contact us on 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
For all the details on the Melbourne Gospel Choir's latest album called Freedom, log on to our website this week. Especially for you, Melbourne Gospel Choir.
Absolutely, no better place.
Look, I know, I really do want to say you've been blessed with a family of your own, perhaps one that you never imagined was ever going to happen in quite that way that it does. And you've children. Tell us a bit about the children.
Well, my two boys, Ahmed's 20 now, and he's just left yesterday for the Paralympic Games.
Yep.
And Manuel's a singer, so they're the boys I heard about when I was living in Albania. So I met them in Iraq, in Mother Teresa's orphanage, and it took me about 2 years to get them out. And initially they were only coming out for surgeries because Ahmed had to have his lower legs taken because amputated bilaterally, and also he's got no lower arms, but he does everything, drives a car, and he's quite phenomenal. He used to be a great footballer, but now he's just become a great swimmer. And Emmanuel's a bit of a singer. He was a bit sort of famous for his singing of the Imagine song on the X Factor, and that's gone a bit big, and he's gone everywhere with that now. He's in LA at the moment doing some singing in an American movie.
And the special girls.
And those two boys are phenomenal. Then there's the two girls as well, Trishna and Krishna, of course. And so they're 5 now, and they're beautiful little girls, and they're coming on really well. They've got a long way to go, especially Chrissy. But yes, a very unique family. You don't sort of expect to happen when you're on your life journey, but they've come on my pathway, and I've been very blessed.
Tell me, where does the inspiration or the passion come from to reach out and help people in this way?
I think any of us, when we go even travelling abroad, we could see something on the street or something very disturbing, and we're going to be quite humbled by that. And we all, as humans, the instinct is, what can we do? How can we help? So maybe I take it a little bit further and want to make a difference. I think when the Bosnian War happened, I kept thinking I wasn't here for World War II. And that was probably a driving force to me. Certainly for me, I wanted to be there to make a difference, to know that I was there to be answerable in the future, that I tried to do something. So I'd like to think that we're all here to help others when they need us. And just because we're Australian doesn't mean it's not our problem. Our passport gives us freedom, but it's probably one of the greatest gifts. But apart from the desire to help people when you see people in need, certainly Mother Teresa has been one of my big mentors as a child, and she's someone I've looked up to and dreamed of as a child. And of course, Mary MacKillop is, we have our own Mother Teresa now, and so she's become a great inspiration to me, and certainly we have our own Australian saint. So she's another
faith
person.
really is a driving force.
I'm a very spiritual person in a conventional sense, being Roman Catholic, which is the core of my existence and a very private. And even the last few years, it's become, sometimes you get a bit dormant because you're so busy in a busy life, and suddenly you come out and realising what's the essence and the reason you get up in the morning. But I do believe that we're all spiritual beings, and some of us can find spirituality by a beach or walking by the seaside. But I think all religion represents peace, and all peace represents love. So
this is a special year, 2012. You haven't been running in the Olympics, but you've been out to do something special. Tell us about that.
I was very lucky. I was asked to carry the Olympic torch for Australia just recently, and it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. I certainly didn't expect there was going to be as excited as I was. It was just outside Manchester, and I think I got the bus and I was on a high by that stage because the momentum was going. Looked like the whole of Britain was out to share in this wonderful moment. I went Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. I had all these Brits saying the Aussie chant. So
for a short time.
For a short time, just for a short time, yes. But it was just one of those magical moments, and purely a great honour that I felt very humbled to be invited to do.
And your son Ahmed, that's really special that he's gone to the Paralympics.
Oh, who would ever think the journey he's taken, and to represent Australia. He really has a passion for sport, but he also wanted to give back to Australia, and it was his way of saying thank you. And I said, you don't need to get a medal, Ahmed, just swim with your heart, and most importantly, you've got there already. For the rest of the world, I can say, in my life, I can say I know an Olympian. So you've done already, you've done us all proud.
Proudest mother in the world, really.
In more ways than one.
Plans for the future?
Well, most importantly at the moment, my 4 kids. I've got Tricia and Chris. She's got a long way to go. And I certainly, the foundation to keep our work going. Unfortunately, job security is a sure thing when you've always got sick children and things happening all over the world for children who will always need some sort of operation. And I'd like to see the work of Children First, or not even Children First, joining forces with another big entity to set up an international registry of hospitals throughout the world who would give beds for children, because the goodwill is there. So that would be a dream of mine. And also maybe to help with the carer movement in Australia. I sort of, I'm very close to my heart, the carers and the role they play in this country.
Look, thanks for sharing that with us. And if people want to know more about this, they can go onto websites, they can find out about you, and we'll make that link available during the week. And you and I know that through Rotary there are still many children that come into Australia for treatment and help, and so this need is going to be continually the
Absolutely,
case.
yeah. There's ROMAC, Rotary Medical Aid for Children. There's Children First Foundation. We do the same work. So I'd be lovely to see them join forces one day, because we all do the same work, and in Interplas. So there's so many good, wonderful people who are doing all this good work you don't hear about already. And unfortunately, you know, you always heard about Trishna and Krishna. You've heard their stories, but during that time we had over 30 children came into Australia, and some of these children never walked. You probably saw some of the photographs. Some children had injuries from war. We had a little girl from Somalia who had been shot by a shotgun in her face, and we've had kids on landmines, and we've had kids with heart operations that just couldn't be done in their country. So, but
the great thing is you've managed to be able to find that space to be able to do something.
We do, and we have, and with the support of all the Australian people and great prayer as well, I believe. So, Maura,
thank you ever so much for coming along and sharing your lovely personality with us and that work that you do.
Thanks for having us.
Wesley Mission also grew from John Wesley's legacy, and we've captured some of that history in a new DVD.
It's been 200 years since the first Methodists met in Australia. To celebrate 2 centuries of faith and pioneering care, CEO and presenter Reverend Dr. Keith Garner takes us back to where it all began.
But we don't begin here at the heart of London. We begin in a town in the north of England.
In this fascinating narrative, Reverend Garner chronicles the history of the life and times of the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. This fresh and thought-provoking documentary takes us on a journey throughout the United Kingdom, beginning in John Wesley's hometown of Epworth.
John Wesley was born here on the 17th of June, 1703.
This 1-hour DVD travels onto his education years and beginnings of social justice in Oxford, to his final years in London. For more information on John Wesley, the man and his mission, call 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Just like Maura has embraced children who need hope and encouragement for a brighter tomorrow, Wesley Mission has also seen the power of the gift of mentoring. We've many children on our waiting list and we need more mentors to help. Let's take a look at how our connecting with this life-changing work began.
Well, before Wesley Mission came along as our fairy godmother, We were in dire straits. Aunties and uncles would have closed after nearly 40 years. And probably about 5,000 children have gone through the program. So, and it's a great program because it keeps the children in the family.
I've got family, but haven't spoken to them for 20 years. And the girls needed family, and also my mum passed away only recently 4 years ago, so I needed something more for the kids. So yeah, so I sort of like Googled them on the internet, and off I went. I mean, our world now is totally different. I mean, we're reattached also with my family, so we've just got this massive family base now, which is really good, and they're beautiful people, we love them. I mean, they look forward to every visit, you know, and I mean, I suppose it gives us a break as well, and they get to enjoy different things, and I wouldn't have life any other way now. It's beautiful.
They're just great fun to be with. They're full of activity all the time. They're on the go all the time. And we really have fun.
When I first joined Aunties and Uncles, I wasn't even sure whether I'd be accepted because I was an older person and I was single, and you know, it was all about families, but I really don't think that matters. This has been an added dimension to my life, definitely. A lot of joy, absolute lot of joy. Yes, she's the niece that I don't have.
She means a lot. She's absolutely wonderful. We've been so many places and I've learned so much from her. Yeah, it does give you a lot of self-esteem and confidence knowing that you have got someone there, and it's also another sort of moral support branch that you've got there. So, you know, in case your mum or your dad isn't there, I'm really happy that the Wesley Mission did take over it, because it's giving the opportunity to other young people and all the children and that to have another person there for them and to make them feel really special.
When we first study the Gospels, we can be surprised, really, at just how much activity is captured in the short space of words. In Luke 4, beginning at verse 31 through to 44, we have a day in the ministry of Jesus at Capernaum, which was his home. Now, I want to read some of those verses to you, just a few of them, from 38 through to 44. Jesus left the synagogue and went to the home of Simon. Now, Simon's mother-in-law was suffering from a high fever, and they asked Jesus to help her. So he bent over her and rebuked the fever, and it left her. She got up at once and began to wait on them. At sunset, the people brought to Jesus all who had various kinds of sickness, and laying his hands on each one, he healed them. Moreover, demons came out of many people, shouting, "You are the Son of God," but he rebuked them, and he wouldn't allow them to speak because they knew he was the Messiah. At daybreak, Jesus went out to a solitary place. The people were looking for him, and when they came to find where he was, they tried to keep him from leaving them. But he said, "I must proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God to the other towns also, because that's why I was sent." And he kept on preaching in the synagogues of Judea. It's quite clear that Jesus had a special relationship not only with Simon Peter, but also his whole family. We're told that Jesus was in the synagogue in Capernaum. He taught the people and they were amazed. There was the driving out of a demon, and then he went to the home of Simon, and that was just across the road. If you go to Capernaum today, you can see the ruins and you can see exactly where it was. And we've heard from our passage, he brought healing to Simon's mother-in-law. Let me draw 2 or 3 things out of this passage. Firstly, the detail of her high fever reinforces his medical concerns. As I said at the very beginning of some of this work in Luke's Gospel, Luke was a doctor, so he had a real concern for people who were ill. So the way he describes the fever that Simon Peter's mother-in-law was undergoing is indicative of that. His hands brought healing to her, and the many who gathered at sunset. The crowds were so great. You read it actually in Mark's Gospel too, that the crowds were so great that they gathered at the door just to listen to what he got to say and to find healing. And it's his concern and his compassion shown through his actions that make the difference. And then thirdly, in this passage, it brings him nearer to the wider community. Now, this is important because the ministry of Jesus is not locked up in some narrow context with a family, with disciples. It's something that reaches out to other people. Now, I find that so very, very important. In the Gospel of Luke, we find Jesus at some stage in the situation under such pressure. Now, Tom Wright helps us to understand something of the social situation that was faced. He writes this: though Capernaum was his base of operations, he spent most of his time on the move. This may have been partly for the sake of the village itself. It couldn't have sustained more and more people coming there for healing. That's an interesting thought, isn't it? That people were so in need of help that they would travel to Capernaum and come to the house where Jesus was staying. And Jesus' willingness to reach out to all in need is a powerful lesson to us all. We've heard that Moira tells something of her own story there, that compassion that drove her in her own heart to reach out, taking Mother Teresa as the example and wanting to do more and more for other people. And also not taking no for an answer, being prepared to do things for other people and reach out and seeing it extend in her own family and far beyond. And that desire that she has is something that really grows from the Christian faith that we embrace. So we're a faith that reaches out and longs to bring the good news to others. And I think the good news has so much to say to each one of us, but especially to those of us that find that we have challenges and obstacles and things in our own lives that we have to deal with. Thank God that he's a gracious God, he's a loving God, and he reaches into our lives and brings meaning and purpose into those lives. Perhaps today you're someone who needs to know afresh and anew that God loves you, that God cares about you. Or perhaps you're sitting around and you're saying to yourself, I'm waiting for the opportunity to do something amazing for other people. Don't wait around forever. Just get up and do it. Get up and go and do that thing, that whatever it is that God places in your heart, the dream that God places for you to reach out to other people. And you'll find that the God who blesses you, the God who guides you, will also enrich your life in a new and quite wonderful way.
If you would like to know more about today's topic or for more on Keith's message, contact Keith by writing to Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235, or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Thanks for watching. It's wonderful to see how the compassion of just one person like Moira can expand into a wider network of doctors, nurses and volunteers, all utilising their time and skills to help love children back to life. Next week, we meet a high flyer, come missionary of the skies, Bill Harding. We leave you with Carter and Carter singing God Made You Perfect. Until next week, goodbye and God bless you.
School, tears streaming down my face. Through the open door I flew into my father's strong embrace. And as he wiped my tears away, I found the strength to speak. The kids at school all call me names. What's wrong with me? He said, God made you perfect. Just you remember that. Every hair he put in place, every freckle on your face, he made you perfect. No matter what they say, you see when God made all of us, he didn't make mistakes. And when I look into my mirror, not liking what I see, try to find the smile that hides my insecurities. 'Cause in my heart the worst is easier to believe. And every time I doubt myself, these words come back to me. God made you perfect. Just you remember that. Every hair he put in place, every freckle on your face, he made you perfect. No matter what they say, it's you and God made all of us. He didn't make mistakes. When I'm too scared to try once more, to face the world